Hello, everybody, and welcome to Blind and Knitting with Donna. I hope you're all well. We've had some huge storms in Masterton and in our area, but also right through New Zealand. It was a cyclone, and so we've had some ups and downs, we might say. Certainly for me, we had no power for 19 hours. Not too much of an issue for me because I usually walk around blind anyway, so I was able to sort of get around quite reasonably. But for my partner and my sister-in-law, they are not used to walking around in the dark, so yeah, they found it interesting. But 19 hours without power. Thankfully, we've got gas to cook on, so we didn't starve. My cup of tea was what I was worried about more than anything, is making sure I had a cup of tea. So it has been an eventful week for us, but we've got a stunning day today. It's just gorgeous out there. Thankfully, because we can take a deep breath, tomorrow's going to be lovely because my daughter gets married tomorrow. So it's going to be really lovely that the weather has settled. It might be a little wet underfoot because it's out in the bush. It's under at the edge of the Tararua Ranges at Mount Holsworth. So yeah, it's really exciting, but I'm so relieved that this bad weather is gone because it wouldn't have been too much fun otherwise. The other, of course, is COVID. It's unfortunately we've had New Zealand is now in its first real wave of COVID coming through the country, and the numbers are getting bigger and bigger by the day. So I'm in hiding. Our family's in hiding to make sure that we don't get it. I'm the celebrant, so the last thing I need is to have contact or be in contact with. So I was in contact with someone who was COVID positive early last week. It's well past. I've done my time at home, and everybody around them has proved negative. So, and I had no symptoms. So there's another bonus. Well, yeah, so we're looking good for tomorrow. The only funny thing, and look, promise you won't laugh. You really promise me. I have spent all morning just about on the ground laughing with tears rolling down my eyes. So, if you do, I'll forgive you because that's all I've done too. I said to my daughter yesterday, look, I'm not going to go into town because I just, I can't risk being around this outbreak. And so, I needed a haircut, but I figured, well, it's actually not too bad. So my hair's okay, but I did need my eyebrows done because if I don't do my eyebrows, I look like I've got pea holes in the snow. And so I said, can you get me a dye? Get the one, it's a dye that I have used for years. And she got it and I did it this morning. And it's, oh my God, don't laugh. But oh my gosh. It's obviously a new mix or a new blend. It's so strong. I'm so pleased I wear face furniture to cover it up, and it'll fade a bit. But by golly, I've been on the ground laughing. My family have a chat page and I put it on there, and we've just had so many jokes. And my son said, well, it'll fade, but the memory of it never will. So, oh. Anyway, yeah, some ups and downs. I'm recovering from my surgery. I'm a month in, and it's taken a while. I have to say, when they say 6 to 8 weeks recovery, I thought, I'll be back at work in 2 weeks and I can do it part-time. Well, I spent a day from 9 till 3 at work last week, and I had to sleep for about 3 hours afterwards. I just couldn't cope. So it has surprised me that when they say 6 to 8 weeks recovery, they actually mean it. But every day I'm getting better and better. It does mean that my energy levels are still reasonably low and I'm still having lots of sleep. So I don't know, you might be able to tell me if you're out there listening. Let me know, do you sleep this much after major surgery? I can't, I just want to sleep. I have a good night's sleep, although I do get up a couple of times to go to the toilet, and then I've got to have two. I say to my partner, I'm just going to read my book. You're right. And I go in my room, and 3 or 4 hours later, he'll wake me up and say, "You gonna have tea?" or, "Have you had enough sleep?" So if you're out there and you've had major surgery, let me know if that's normal. If it's not normal, I'll go and get it checked out. But if it is part of the sort of recovery process, then I'll just go with the flow on that. So yeah, it's been, as I say, a really up and down. Last week's been sort of up and down, and bit of worry. So yesterday, my daughter Cushman came out, and we just sort of touched up wedding dresses, pressed the wedding dresses and the bridesmaids, and sewed up, so they're not so boobalicious. It's the younger girls' dresses, and it was all very nice and exciting, made it sort of very real that things were happening. Yeah, so I think we're ticking along with the plans for the wedding, which is tomorrow. As I said, well, I'm not sure if I did say actually, I'm a celebrant, and so I'll be taking the wedding, which is really exciting as a mother to take my own daughter's wedding. I'll show you. I brought my things to show you what I put my paperwork and stuff in, because they're really quite cute. I got them online. I don't know if you can see, it's got like it's got a fern on it there, and so I keep all the legal paperwork in there, and because of my sight challenges, I sort of blow my wording up so it's quite big, and so that I can read it on the day. There'd be nothing worse than not being able to read it on the day. So I just think they're lovely. And last Christmas my sister gave me a gorgeous gift, which was a Parker biro, and so I've kept that special for what the bride and groom can say when they sign their their particulars and get for the legalities of the marriage. Yeah, so that, I just thought I'd show you that. Sorry. I've been a celebrant for, well, how long now? Maybe 3 years. I've done 6 weddings and a funeral. I took which was my girlfriend's father died, and I was quite close to her father, and they were good friends of ours. And she said, "Look, would you take this funeral?" And I've never taken a funeral before, but I had to think about it for quite some time. And then I thought, what an honour to be able to take it. And I did, and I was worried that I would get emotional, but actually I think I did a really good job. I was quite proud of myself afterwards. It's a biggie taking somebody's funeral, especially someone you know quite well and close to the family. But it was a real honour to be able to do that, and it's also just such a privilege and an honour to actually officiate a wedding. It's really quite special. You're right in the moment with a very emotional connection for this couple, and you're part of that, but you're also sort of trying to control the situation. You're an events manager in lots of ways, and so as much as you are trying to keep them on path and make sure that they're doing the right thing and following the law, because there's some legalities around obvious for weddings, but also that that they're standing in the right place for the photographer, and the photographer knows what's going to happen next time. And so it's a little bit of work involved in being a celebrant, which I love. Yeah, so it's been great. I do hope my site has enough that I can read my order sheet for some time yet, and still take some, because it is quite a privilege. It's a challenge being blind and doing it, but some bride and grooms actually like that. They seem to think it's novelty. Celebrant's blind and bringing her guide dog. Kenzie comes along, and my very first wedding, they had the ring bearer was their dog, and that was really quite cute. They put the rings on the dog's collar, and a friend of theirs held the dog at the back of the service on it, that he sat right at the back with the dog on a leash. And when it came to the ring bearing, presenting the rings, the bride and groom called their dog, whistled their dog, and the friend unleashed him, and he rushed up the aisle with his rings on his collar, and they took the rings, and then he went back to his mate and sat there, and for the rest of the service it was really brilliant. And Kenzie sort of watched all that, and I thought, oh yeah, that's just lovely. So that was a really special wedding. That was my first wedding, which was a spectacular wedding. So enough of weddings, because this is a knitting podcast. So blind and knitting, so you can find me on Instagram under blind_and_knitting, and I try and put sort of regular photos of my projects up so that you can, if you watch this, you can follow up by looking at the projects a little bit closer. And so that's Instagram. Kenzie, my guide dog, has her own page, Facebook page. So if you want to see Kenzie's Facebook page, it's Kenzie the Guide Dog in Facebook, so you can check her out. If you want to watch more of my podcasts, subscribe below. Find the subscribe, hit subscribe, and there's a little bell. You can click the bell, all notifications, and it comes up on the right hand side of your screen. I don't know if I'm pointing to the right or the left on here, and reminds you when I do it once. So this is episode number 10. Gosh, 10 already. So welcome to Blind and Knitting. Enough ramble. Let's get on with some knitting now. I've got lots of FOs, and you will have seen them all before, but as whips, and they are FOs from my surgery, so I've got a pile to get through, but we will get through them reasonably quickly because you have seen them as whips, and so there's probably not a lot of explaining that needs doing. So the first one is my Paris Toujours, which is a shawl or scarf or a what are they calling them now? Schlanket, because it's huge, sort of a blanket and shawl. And it is called Paris Toujours, and I can't read that. I will put the link below on whose it is. It's Isabel Kramer's, that's right. It's an Isabel Kramer pattern, and it was a great pattern, very easy to read, had no problem with the pattern at all, and you have seen this before. But it's finished. I've actually worn it. I wore it out with a denim jacket and jeans, and had lots of comments on it actually, which was lovely. So there it is. Very, very big, but I'm 6 foot, so I can carry that. I haven't blocked it. I don't know if I will, to be honest, because I'm just not sure if I could fit. I haven't got the room to block it in my lounge. Everybody would have to step over it. But it's just gorgeous. I've done it in merino cashmere silk blend called Sublime. It's a 4-ply. No, it wasn't. It was a double knit. Beg your pardon. I'm telling lies. And it's just a simple yarn over knit two together lace pattern with a garter stitch in between. The learning for me, or something new that I've never done before, is the where is it? This side here had such a neat. I'm going to find it. Such a neat bind off, and I'm assuming it's not a cast off, so because it was down the side, so it's the edge, but I'm assuming it's like an I-cord. So really cool, and it just looks so smart. Really enjoyed that. And then an I-cord, the bind off was, I can't remember. Sorry guys, that's okay. But I love it. Love it, love it, love it. And I will get lots of wear out of that. So that's my Paris Toujours by Isabel Kramer. The next finished objects, the next FOs are, I think I showed these last time, but I'm going to do it again just because I wasn't sure, my dishcloths. So I've done 2 dishcloths. They're crocheted, just simple treble with 100% cotton. I've got another one on the hook now, so the only thing that annoyed me is in my sights thing, it's like, oh, they're the same size, I cast off. When I actually looked at them properly, I'm 2 rows short, so one's smaller than the other, but blind man be pleased to see them, as my mother would say. So just simple dishcloths. So 2 of those, so there we go, tick, tick. A couple more finished. I told you there was a lot of finished objects. Well, I have had recovery, so I've done a lot of sitting, so I've been able to do a lot of knitting, and as I get better and better, my head gets clearer and clearer, so I've been able to do some more. Now these are the hats that I was knitting for my grandchildren for camping hats. So 4 grandchildren, so 4 hats, one all finished. 2, 3, 4. And then I had leftover yarn, so I made one for Dad, but I used one of each of the 4 colours. So he's got a striped one. The colours that I wouldn't have put together, but they're okay together. And Mum doesn't wear hats, but I made her a headband so that she can have a ponytail out the back and keep her ears warm when she's camping out by the fire, the bonfires that they have when they go camping. So that is their camping kit of hats. The kids have already picked their colours. So, and I didn't, as I said, I think I said in the last podcast, didn't have a pattern. I just made it up as I went. I'm not a hat person. They don't particularly look great on me, but it's a nice, good size. It's a bulky knit. It's a lovely wool. I will knit with this wool again. It's called Loyal, and it's 100% wool, and it's a bulky knit. And I bought it in Marston in one of our retail shops, local shop. But I'm really impressed with how soft it is. It's just beautiful and squishy. So I will do that again, but so what I did was I used, I think it was a size 11 needle. I've still got them out because my niece has asked me to knit some for her 2 kiddies. It's a humongous needle. Pretty sure, and I won't be able to see that, so I don't even know why I'm looking. Isn't that funny? Habit. Because I used to be sighted, I still look for the size, and then I go, oh, there's no way I'm going to read that. Why are you bothering? So it's an 11. So I knew that. So I made the pattern up. So I cast on 56 stitches. I did 1.5 inches of rib. I did 12 rows of plain stocking stitch, and then I just did the decreases by knitting 2 together, and then 2 together in the next row. Knit row, I did 5, and then I did 4 and 3, and then I just threw them down together. They're not prissy kits, and it's camping, so no pom-poms or anything flash like that, just quite simple, quite quick. I'll put them all in one bag, and my intention was to knit them to sew them a bag each, but it's not going to happen, so I'm just pleased I've got them done. I really enjoyed doing those, and I knit them all at the same time. So if you have a look on my Instagram page, you'll be able to see that how I did that. I just had all 4. I did 3 unto a certain level, and then I added the 4th one, which I'd already started, and had 4 that I knit all at the same time on the needles. It was great because they were all finished at the same time instead of doing one and then the other. And I'm sure I've got ADD because I'm sure I would have got to 2.5 and never finished the other. So because I knit them all at once, that was, it was really good. So that's FO number 3. So Paris Toujours, crocheted dishcloths, camping hats. And my last FO is my Ribblesdale, and I always struggle with this name, Ribblesdale. And it's a pattern that I saw on the Fruity Knitting podcast, and thought, yeah, I like that. Ribblesdale, and it's by Lily Kate France. It's brioche, so it's been a real learning for me because I've never done brioche. Also, I cord bind-offs, and I've never done I-cord bind-offs except for the one on the Paris Toujours, which wasn't the bind-off, it was down the side, but these are actually the bind-offs. So quite a bit of learning for me, particularly the brioche. I've made a few mistakes in it. I promised myself I'd use lifelines, and I didn't, but I probably wouldn't have frogged it back anyway, because brioche, once you make, it's very hard to pull back. So every one row that you knit is actually only half a row, so it takes 2 rows to complete one row. So there's a lot of knitting. So I'm pleased I only did a waistcoat. Not sure if I would do brioche again. I certainly love the look of it, and it's really rhythmic to knit, but the casting on, the increasing and decreasing, even right at the end when I'd done I made this waistcoat, here it is. I love it, and I will certainly get some wear out of it because, as I've said before, I get really hot. So for me, having this, it's really squishy. To me, it's kind of like a puffer jacket. So this is, I think that's how I'll be wearing it, like a puffer jacket. So I'll kind of wear it over dresses, and so it's all blocked. It's ready to go. I just need some buttons on it. Yeah, so if you can see the I-cord bind off on there. I think you can see that. And I loved it. I almost didn't do it. I did the ribbon around the button bands, and I thought, no, just cast off, because as I say, it was a lot of knitting. And then I thought, and I could bind off as quite a bit of knitting as well, because but I thought, no, just do it. I'll move it a bit closer, because, and now I'm so pleased, because look at that. It actually, I like that this is a really heavy rib down here, and then it's got this heavier sort of line of rib up there. So if that shows, it's a really great colour. I like the wool. It was, what was the wool? Oh, I've done so much knitting lately, it's almost confusing me on wool. So it's a bulky knit. No, it's not, it's a 10 ply. So it's a 10 ply brioche, which sounds like it would come off the needles quite quickly, but it doesn't with brioche. I mean, as I say, you really are doing, and one of the things with brioche is you don't purl the purl stitch, you slip it. So I kept making the mistake of purling it and just getting, you get into a rhythm and you go, oh blast, I've purled that, so you have to keep going back. But I really do like this, and I will get some wear out of it. Haven't decided what buttons to put on it yet. I'm thinking wooden chunky ones. If you're watching this, I'd love your suggestions. I found these that I bought ages ago for something else. They're plastic, but they're quite cool. And I thought maybe this. What do you think? Can you see that? I'm not sure if you can even see that. Yeah, it's looks like a piece of wood. They're quite cool. How do people do this? So, but I've only got 3, but I think I can get a 4th. So I'm kind of leaning towards those rather than the same colour. Oh, that's what the wool was. It was a Skeins Vintage 10 ply, and its name is Bergen, and it's a beautiful pale teal, maybe dark duck egg, I would call it. So looking forward to wearing that, but it's way too hot at the moment. So that's my next finished object. That was my Ribbersdale. That's a name that I always stuck with, Ribbersdale. I don't know where that came from or how they named it that. We've got a Riversdale with a V, a beach out here, so maybe it's because I keep going to say Riversdale instead of Ribblesdale. So that's all my finished objects. Gosh, I feel like I've achieved so much, and that's all since the 3rd of January. So they were all started. I cast on the Paris Tissure on the 1st of January. I started the hats on the 3rd of January, and I started the Ribblesdale. I think it was about the 6th of January. So I've knit them all at the same time. But because of my surgery, it's been nice to have some real choices on what to knit and what to wear, which to spend the time on. The hats were the ones that I didn't think I would get the most knitting on, but they were the ones that were the simplest for me to think about when I was in that sort of post-surgery haze. Feels like kind of coming out of a hangover, really, for quite some time. But yeah, so I'm quite pleased with my finished objects. But what that means is that I cleaned out my project bags. I unscrewed all of my Knit Pro needles and put them all back in their corresponding little areas in my bag, and put all the cords away. And then I got my project bags out, and I thought I'm going to fill them with my next 3 projects and have those ready to knit. And so I've got some whips to show you that I have made a start on. And so the first one is it's not out for public sale yet. It's when you do Wardrobe Toolbox with Libby Johnson, and it is called Embers, and it is a colour work cardigan, 8-ply cardigan with steeking. Now, I've never done colour work and I've never done steeking, so it's going to be interesting. But I don't know how many of you do Wardrobe Toolbox with Libby Johnson, but it's kind of like master classes. So she guides you through with videos and classes and Q&As. And so if I'm going to do something I've never done before, it's the perfect time to do it. Is when I wanted to do a Steingast colour work, because I just love those, but there wouldn't be too much guidance, whereas with this I've got the guidance. So although the colour work isn't my first choice, I'm looking forward to doing it. So what I've decided to do, it's 8-ply, is it's another skeins wool, and that's the colour there. I said a few podcasts ago that I would try and keep away from pink, because everything I was doing was pink. Well, now I'm finding I'm doing so many sort of these duck egg colours, and it's really not deliberate. I just seem to be drawn to these colours because I've told myself not to be drawn to pink. And I guess when I've finished these, I'll say to myself, don't be drawn to these colours, and it'll be interesting to see what colours I go to next time. So this is my swatch. I've got gauge, so I'm ready to go. I have cast on the neckband, so that's all ready. I'm ready to do the colour work, but I figured because of my daughter's wedding, I will wait till after the wedding, because as I say, I've never done it. So for me, it's going to need to be focused. So the colours I've chosen are these ones. Not that one, this one. So these are the colours. So obviously this is the colour of the cardigan, so this is the main colour, and these are the 3 colours for the colour work. So that's the red at the top is a Skeins Chili, and the navy, I actually can't remember what that's called. Oh, it is called navy, and the cream is oatmeal. So they I think they'll look quite nice with the duck egg. Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to that. So I'm excited with the colours, and learning. There's going to be a bit of learning there. Following a pattern. I can't show you the pattern, can I? Am I allowed to show you the pattern? I don't know. So somebody's trying to ring me. I'm sorry. Whip number 1. Whip. Oh, I've just put the wool in because I try and keep myself in order because everything's a bit up in the air at the moment. Whip number 2. Now, I showed this wool as an acquisition last week. It's a Happy Go Knitty wool, and I am going to make. Oh, and it's another Libby Johnson's Wardrobe Toolbox pattern. It's a lovely sort of 3/4 sleeve, 4-ply. Again, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to show you the pattern because it's not out for public. I have to ask her, I'm not sure. And again, I've gone for this more duck egg colour again. This was, I don't know why I've done that, but this is Happy Go Knitty's Māori, and it is called Southern Ocean. It's a 4-ply merino silk yak. It's beautiful. And I've made a start with that, so you can see my markers because there's a lace panel on it. So, and the learning in this for me is, it took me such a long time to work it out. So I cast on, then I had to break the yarn and turn my needles round and then join the yarn at the other end and start knitting that way. So the only thing I can think of the reason for that would be that later on maybe I pick up from where I've cast on, because I think this is this part, and then later on you add the front part. It's a little bit confusing, and that's a real learning for me, sort of short rows, and yeah, so that's a learning. Again, it's just a beautiful wool. It's a 4-ply, so I've got a DK on the needles and a 4-ply, so I can just choose which one. They're both taking a bit of thought at the moment, so I won't be picking them up over the next couple of days because of the wedding. And I, if I do need to do anything, I'll just do my dishcloths, I think, and just keep it nice and simple. So that one is all ready to go. That's whip number 2. And whip number 3, because as I've told you, I'm not monogamous. I like to have lots of whips on the go. Although I haven't cast on with this yet because I'm still in debate. So I brought this beautiful wool from, again, it's Māori. It's a Happy Go Knitty from Helene, and it's Māori. And it's the, I've got gauge on that too, merino silk yak. It's just beautiful. I brought enough to do a 3/4 sleeve tee, but when I got it, I didn't actually think it was going to be brown. And that's the risk of being sort of vision impaired and ordering online. It's called Never Ending Pines. And I think I thought it might be a green, but it is definitely a brown. It's kind of a chocolate brown, but not very dark. It's lovely. It's a beautiful colour. So, and I was sitting there thinking about it the other day, and it was sitting next door to my skein of wool that I had left from my raindrops that I did, 4-ply merino raindrops in this pink sort of speckled wool that I bought in town. And if you remember through podcast past, for some reason, stupidly, I bought double the amount I need. So I've got almost enough to knit another something. Well, they were sitting next to each other, and I thought, oh gosh, those two actually look quite nice together, the brown and the pink. So I started playing with the swatch, and I was doing a little bit of, never done colour work, but I was just playing with colour work. I was just doing the two together. So I haven't decided on a pattern, but I do like those two colours together, so that might happen. It might be plain, it might be a mixed of the two colours. The pattern that I did think that I could do, more because I could do with another cardigan. Cardigans are great when you get hot. Is this one here. It's called Flare Free Curvy Cardi. And you can do it for bigger, more voluptuous women. So it's got 2 sizes. It's got an ordinary cardigan and a cardi for people that are bigger busted. So being bigger busted, that appealed to me, because often with cardigans, you know, slipping off your shoulders or going like that around the buttons. So you can choose a pattern on this. It's a River Road Knits pattern, and you can choose a pattern on this for the bigger busted. I'll find you a better picture than that. For a more curvilicious woman. Oh, and there probably isn't. Anyway, so that's where I'm leaning with that one, is just a plain basic cardigan for a curvy woman, but I might do it, I don't know whether I'll do striped with the pinks and the browns, or whether I'll do, I don't know, I haven't quite worked that out yet, or whether I'll just do brown. I don't know if I've got enough to do a cardigan unless I do a short sleeved. There's another thought. Anyway, that's still in the thinking mode. It's definitely in the queue. So there's my FOs and my whips. Oh, it's been a lot of knitting. I've done a lot. So what is it? That's the 18th of February today, isn't it? 18th of February. So I started all of those on the first week of January. So 6 weeks. 6 weeks. So I've done all of that in 6 weeks. Quite proud of myself, actually. And it's all this new learning and just getting into, just the new learnings. Really motivating me. I'm enjoying doing these podcasts. I hope you're enjoying listening to them. I do rattle on, but I think we all do in these podcasts, don't we? Where am I going to put that swatch? because as I've said before, you guys listen, and if you don't listen, you can turn me off. If I did this to my partner, told him all of this, he'd roll his eyes, and it doesn't interest him, you know. Although I have thought about knitting him a jersey soon. So, the other thing that I'm doing, I haven't cast it on yet, and I can't show you the pattern because it's a test knit. I've never done a test knit either, so I had to download an app called Slack to do, so we communicate through this app. So there's another learning. Gosh, learning. It's a nice simple pair of fingerless gloves, and I wear fingerless gloves through winter all the time with walking Kenzie. So I figured, that's a nice thing to do for a test knit. So what I believe a test knit is that they've designed this pattern. It's got quite a few sizes, and she needs quite a few people to knit it, to test the pattern to make sure there's no mistakes, that it works well and it's readable, that the fitting actually fits the size. And so we comment along the way. I haven't started mine. We're supposed to have started them, but I did say to her, I'll do it after Kushla's wedding. They won't take long. Fingerless gloves are fairly quick. It's not a complicated pattern, but it's a pretty pattern. Hopefully I'll be able to show you when I've done them. But what I'm going to do them in is I have got a skein left of the Sublime that I knitted my Paris Toujours shawl in. And the pattern says, well, this will be an interesting part of the tester. The pattern says I need 60 grams, and that's a 50 gram skein, and I've got this much else, which I'm hoping is 10 grams. Having said that, it did say that the meterage, and the meterage was less than what's on here. So I think that'll be enough for a pair of fingerless gloves. It'll be interesting to see. And I don't like fingerless gloves too loose or too big because they get floppy. So I'm going to knit the smallest adult size. I don't have a huge hand, but it's not a tiny hand, but I do like my fingerless gloves quite firm. And so they'll go nicely with my Paris Toujours shawl and will be really handy for just walking Kenzie and my first test knit. So yeah, that'll be interesting as well. Looking forward to that. So yes, I've got my test knit, I've got my Embers colourwork and steeking cardigan from Libby Johnson. I have my Mardi Happy Go Knitty Mardi wool 4-ply tee, 3/4 sleeve tee, and I have my other Mardi brown with a possible mix with a pink fleck. Then I don't know what I'm going to do, possibly a cardigan. So those are my next line of work. After that, I have about 4 years ago, I bought some cream Aran wool to knit a cable cardigan. And I don't know why I did this. I started one, it was a longish cardigan with pockets, which is fine, but it had a hood. I'm not a hood person. Where was my head? It was a big loose cardie. I just don't, so I frogged it. So I've got enough beautiful, just natural cream Aran wool to do something with. So that's, I want to get that, I want to use that out of my stash. So that's kind of my thinking. It'll be nice for something for winter when it's actually really cold. Not sure what I'll knit, but if I like the colour work, that might be my Steingast or something. Because I really would, I don't know if you've ever had a look at the Steingast patterns. They're just stunning. They often are on angles, and she has feathers, and just stunning. I really want to knit one of those. So that's kind of where I'm heading after this. Isn't that funny how you're thinking what you might knit before, after. I've got 3 on the go now. It's come on, Donna. Or 4 with the gloves. Anyway, that's my whips and FOs. I hope you've enjoyed those. I know you've seen them before as you've seen my FOs as whips, of course. Now, that's the thing when you do podcasts and you show them as whips. and then you show them as FOs, you know, you've seen them quite a few times along the run, but hey ho, that's what it is. Now acquisitions, what have I brought? Although the only wool I've brought is the 3 skeins of wool for my Embers colourwork cardigan, and that's the chili, the navy, and the oatmeal skeins wool, which is a company in Napier and Masterton, in Napier in New Zealand. And it's a lovely wool that I have knit. I've knit a couple of cardigans in the past with them, so I really like the wool. It's toothy but not really scratchy, so I think it'll do really nicely with steeking and colour work. It's so 100% wool, so I'm looking forward to that. So those are the only 3 that I bought: the chili, navy, and oatmeal. It's not called oatmeal, it's called something else, cream one. Anyway, so those are the only 3. The other thing that I brought, not wool, is ages ago I brought, and I showed you the little wooden thing to knit tubes with for one of my grandchildren. I went and found, by just looking, found another one, which is a cute little bee one. So I've now got 2. I haven't given them to my grandies yet. They'll be nice winter activities for them. So there's 2 there. I'll find another one, a different one again, so they can have one each. I don't think the 14-year-old would be interested, but certainly the 7, what age are they? 7, 11 and 12-year-olds. Well, I think, you know, that'll be something they'll get into. So I did buy another one of those. I really wanted, I find getting my knitting out of the project bag a risk that the stitch is going to fall off the end. So I really wanted some stoppers. And I've seen, you know, like that kind of a foam, and they sort of push onto the end of the needles to hold the knitting on. And I thought this was them. So I brought some. Well, when I got home, I can't find it now. I've opened a packet. Stupidly, they're not. They are for when you use DPNs. So it's got elastic. It's got one like a bell shape that you put onto your DPN, and then elastic, and you hook it onto the other end of your DPN. So I'm going to take that back. I can't take the other one back because I've opened it. But I do have a pair of DPNs. Not that I knit with them very much, but I'll put it with those if I ever do pull out a project for them, you know, which the chances are it could. I'll keep those. I'll take these back, and I'll try again to get some things to plug into the end. The other thing I really want to buy, 2 things. The first thing that I really want to buy, and I just don't know, I'm notorious for having these neat ideas and coming up with these projects and buying all of the equipment, and then, you know, 6 months later it sits not used. And I want a sock crank, a sock knitter, a tube knitter. I just keep watching this podcast and people are cranking tubes. Now, I love knitted socks, but I hate knitting them. I don't know, because there's 2 of them. No, that's not fair. I don't hate knitting them. I prefer to knit garments. I've got, you know, 5 grandkids. Well, I've got six and a newbie coming, so I've got 7 grandkids. I figured I could crank socks for my grandies, and and then you just knit the heel and the cuffs and the toes. So I think for buying one in New Zealand, I'd like the Addy sock knitter, which is the one step up from the plastic toy ones. I just don't want to be with plastic toy ones. And they're about $170 without freight. So I'm keen to get one, but I figured I'd have to make at least a pair of socks per person, well, at least one pair of socks for my family to have covered the cost. And I mean, I will do that. So if you're watching this and you've got one, or you've used one, or you've seen them, let me know. You know, whether I'm wasting my money. I've just got this idea that I'll just crank all these tubes, and then I can sell tubes to all my knitting friends, and you know, and give them away as gifts as well. Socks are great gifts, especially if they're cranked nice and quick. And I don't mind doing the toes and the heels and the cuffs. So I'm really keen to buy one. Quite quite keen. So I'd love some feedback on the Addy crank. I've looked through heaps and heaps of podcasts. I've done all of the reviews. You know, it sounds like structurally and all of that, they're quite good. There's certainly some negatives that I can see, but it's more actually, you know, will I get the use out of it, and etc. And I think with 7 grandkids, I probably will. So that's one acquisition that I really want to get. The other one that I want to get, or actually probably more, it's, you know, it's the difference between a want and a need, isn't it? You know, do you want it or do you need it? Now that I am buying a lot more hanked walls, for example, Helene from Happy Go Nitty, and you know, you buy 5 hanks for a cardie for me, and I bought 4 of the brown, so I've got 9 hanks of wool there to wind. Now, many years ago when I made Aaron's and I used to buy the hanks, well, Aaron's 10 ply, it doesn't take long, you know, sit there and roll it up by hand, and I've done that for years, but I think I'll get myself a, but if I get one of those, do I have to have the thing that you put the hanks on as well that goes round so that it keeps it all tidy while you're scanning it up? I don't think they're expensive. I think it's something that I'll just bite the bullet and get. I do have 9 skeins here. I have wound one up. You'll have a look if you look on my Instagram page, blind_and_knitting. You'll see that I used an armchair that I put side over on its back, and I put the hank over the legs to keep it in, you know, all in control, and just wound it up. Yeah, I don't mind doing it, but when you've got 9 sitting there, it's like, and it's 4-ply. What I found was it was 4-ply silk yak, so it was quite hard to hold. You know, Aaron's aren't so bad, they're just quite grippy and you can hold them, but this was getting slippery. And anyway, that's I'm pretty sure I'll just order that, you know, but I would love some feedback on these sock crankers. Yeah, I watch the Grocery Girls a lot. It's one of my favourite. Oh, every time I watch a podcast, it becomes my favourite. But Grocery Girls is one of my favourites, and they have a Jodie has a crank sock machine, and she cranks them out, you know, and then she just knits the heels, cuffs, and toes on them. And I know that it's a looser open. It's not, you know, your tight 4-ply that you're going to get. You're going to get a fairly open double knit.
This might answer your question. According to Wikipedia, the iPad is a brand of iOS. And
Alexa, stop. That's Alexa answering questions for me. Really? Oh dear. Anyway, so that's what I want to buy, is those 2. Love some feedback. Well, I think that's everything. Let me check my list, because I wanted to. Oh, the one I'm knitting in the 4-ply Māori merino silk yak, which is the lovely Southern Ocean sort of jadey green, is called Sachet. And again, it's one of Libby Johnson's cardies. It's an A-framed, A-lined, so it'll be lovely and soft with the silk, and it'll have a bit of flow to it. It's 3/4 sleeve, which is a nice weight for, you know, autumn that's coming up, or the days when it's not so hot and now summers. Gosh, we've had some cool days, but for summer it's unusual for us. And it's got a little lace panel down there, so yeah, it's called Sachet. Kenzie, what's been happening with Kenzie? Well, she's a wee bit bored, I think, because I've been home and I haven't really even wanted to walk with my surgery. So I need to kick myself in the butt and get myself walking again for Kenzie and for myself, of course. And of course, I haven't been going to work either. I did go to work one day this week, was shattered afterwards. So, yeah, poor old Kenzie's been a wee bit bored with it all, but she's coped well, you know, as labs do. She'll just lay down, go to sleep, and then she'll get up and move somewhere else and lay down and go to sleep, and I'll go and check my veggie garden, and she'll come out and lay down and watch, and you know, when I collect the eggs, so she'll follow me around. I know you can't see her, but she is just laying down here. and she'll just get up and move somewhere else and lay down and go to sleep again. So I think she is getting a wee bit bored, but my daughter's wedding is out in the forestry, as I said, so in a reserve, a native reserve, and so Kenzie will get a cool day out. If I'm feeling up to it, I might stay the night there in the lodge. I'm just going to play that one by ear. I'll take my Jim Jams and see how I go. A lot of people are going to be staying the night after the wedding. They're having a camping themed children's, it's very much a family wedding. It's a lunchtime wedding, and afterwards they've got games like, I think they've made a huge Jenga game, and they're going to have just campfire stuff, barbecue, and it's going to be a beautifully done wedding, but it's just going to have the theme of being in the bush and camping, because that's what that family's all about. It's so nice that families nowadays make the wedding about who they are. It's not the good old fashioned, you had to go to, when I got married, you had to go to church 3 times and you had to meet with the minister, and you never considered having a wedding out of church. You were a real rebel if you did something like that. So it's really lovely that people are now doing things. I mean, it's the same with funerals. We went to a dear friend of ours who passed away, and his funeral was outside under a tree, and they had his coffin sitting on hay bales, and it was just lovely. It's much, much more real. So, yeah, Kenzie's getting a little bit bored, but I was going to talk a little bit about mental health, which I try and do each time as well. And I know that people are struggling out there. I mean, obviously with my job, I sense and see it every day. One of the tips that I often tell people is to start journaling. Now, journaling was discovered even in the 15th century in Japan, so it's been going for so many years. They have also found out that it biologically changes the structure of some of your hormones in your system while you are journaling. So it increases what's called T lymphocytes, which improve immunity, particularly around stress problems like eczema, respiratory, psoriasis, those sorts of things which can tend to flare up when you are stressed. So the T lymphocytes can support the repair and recovery of those, and they get increased or boosted while you are journaling. So not only does it really help your head, but it does biologically help your system as well. So journaling is, there's a few tricks, and you don't want to just say, right, I'm going to do 20 minutes of journaling every day, because you're going to set yourself up for failure. You really want to, and I've got my journal here. I've journaled all my life. I've been a journaler for years. That's this year's one. And I buy a new journal every year, and I burn my old one. So I'm not just saying this, I actually walk the talk with journaling, because I know that it works. It's so that if you want to do journaling, you want to be able to do it where you want to be able to write so that you're not worried about who's going to read it. So the last thing you need to be doing is writing and thinking, oh gosh, I better not write that because so-and-so might read it, or I better not write that because so-and-so might read it. You want to be able to just flow write. So find somewhere to put it that you know, as confidential or private, whether it be under your mattress or in your handbag, or I actually just keep mine around, because my partner would never bother. He doesn't even think of it as a journal. It's just one of my notebooks, because I've got plenty of notebooks floating around, and I'm really good at that. So yeah, that's your key, is to just make sure that you do that. You can buy some really pretty, every year I love choosing my journal. I've loved this one. It's really pretty, and my last year's one was really pretty too. But you can just pick up, $3 at Uncle Bill's. You don't have to spend a lot of money. I've been journaling all my life, so I know that it's of value for me. So I don't mind spending, I can't even remember how much this was. I think it hasn't got the price on it. I think it was about $70, which is quite dear. But I'll probably get 2 or 3 years out of this, although I have done a lot of writing in 1 year. Maybe I won't. I might get 1 year out of this. Some I can get a couple of years out of. Yeah, so I truly recommend journaling. I often look at it like, say you've got a jigsaw puzzle in your head, it's got all messed up, and journaling to me is like getting everything out of your head, laying it all out, finding the corners and putting those there, and finding the edges there, and putting the red ones there and the blue ones there, and kind of sorting it out, and then putting it back into your head. That's how I see journaling. It's one of those things that just clears everything up. I don't often read back on my journaling. You can, and you can learn from that as well. You can learn from, if you did something well or didn't do it so well, you can look back on it and think, well, what did I do well, or what did I not do well? But I often don't read back on mine, and also mine often changes. Like sometimes I'll do bullet points. I'm trying to find something for you. Sometimes I'll do, well, there's one that is bullet points. So I've just done numbers and there and done bullet points. Sometimes I will just write and write and write and write and write, and it'll just be screens of pages of writing. Or there's a chart that I've done, and sort of done a chart for myself. And one page or a couple of times, there's even a piece of artwork. Donna the artist, not. But I was out that day. I was out in the bush. I just was feeling very zen and chilled, and I did a picture of what I could see. And I'm not an artist, and it's crap, but I look at it and it just makes me feel chilled because of where I drew it from. So I highly recommend journaling for your mental health. If you are struggling, get a notebook. Just give yourself 5 minutes a day, no big pressure, and just start, just start. That's all you have to do. How was today? I felt, I did, I'd like to, I wished I had, just all of those sort of prompts. You can get apps on your phone, for your modern day, you get an app on your phone. Modern day youth, tend to do that. I'm just going to grab a sip of my coffee because, it's gone cold, but never mind, it's wet. Yeah, so for your mental health, I strongly advise you to start some journaling if you haven't already. Sometimes I can go months without journaling, especially when things are going well. Sometimes I spend months just in my journal when things aren't going so well. So it's not something, that I pick up every day at 5 o'clock and write, something. I'm not that sort of person. But then I have spoken to people that every day they write something in their journal, whether it's just weather was nice, great day, went to work, that was it. Yeah. So give it a try. People like Sir Edmund Hillary had a journal, Ronald Reagan, Winston Churchill had a journal, and the obvious one who kept her sane and survived is Anne Frank. So, some pretty well-known people have had journals. There's your mental health tip for the day. So I think we've done everything. I'll have just Yeah. So I've done WIPs, done FOs, done acquisitions, done mental health, done my cock up with my eyebrows. I'm going to have to go and find some way of making it less black, but I am pleased that I wear face furniture because that's going to cover the cock up. I've got the wedding this weekend, so I'll be super busy. Have a great week, or two. I'll do another one in a fortnight's time and let you know how I'm getting on with all my new learnings. Bye for now.